All right, welcome to part two of this Red Rock inspired whatever scenario. All right, so I was working on this last night and deep into the morning hours. Thanks to everyone that joined in on that. Um, but what I was saying towards the end of that video, what occurred to me is that the trees, where they looked lighter early on in the stamping process, um, turned darker as it dried and as my paint pens became more transparent and the colors underneath started showing through. Hello, Jolene. How are you this afternoon? Um, yeah, so I want to make these trees stand out more, um, like an aspeny looking scenario. So they need to turn more yellow to create more contrast between them and these red rocks. Okay, they were too similar like this. Hello, Kay and Jacqueline. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by here. All right, so large format right here. This is an 8.5 by 11. I don't know. I just needed to go large on this one. I was thinking of a scenario. I guess I could have gone slimline, like something like this, but I wanted to get a nice pool of water with enough of this fall foliage and kind of this idea of this kind of canyon type of situation with these, I don't know, larger kind of red rocks kind of creating this kind of narrow passageway that's pretty indicative of a lot of kind of desert terrains out there. All right, so I really want these trees to really stand out, so I've pulled out some of my Lan Ren Wang. I hate that name, it's just too hard. Paint pens here. They're supposed to have a little bit of a higher pigment to binder ratio. Okay, so these are acrylic paint pens, so the binder is just going to be water. And they're supposed to have like I said, a higher concentration of pigment. Okay, I've been using these pens here, the Emokis, and I love these pens right here, but they tend to dry a lot more towards transparency. I mean, they're still translucent, but you get the colors showing through. So when I lay down some yellows, they look really good, and then they dry, and then they're a lot more transparent. That's why these trees look a lot darker with the darker tones underneath. So I don't know. It's one of those things. I guess these pen manufacturers, I don't know if they're trying to save money or if having kind of a thinner consistency is something that keeps these pens from clogging, which of course, is the worst thing for any type of marker, gel pens, paint pens, etc. We want these pens to work, until they're empty, right? So sometimes maybe going with a higher pigment ratio and not having them as watered down, maybe there's this balance in there. I don't know. Ideally, I want a pretty opaque pen though, so I hope they kind of develop something for that. Yes, so yes, good morning on Australia. Linda, how are you? I'm not still awake. Linda was on for at least most of the creation of this last night. So this was a 3-hour piece right here. So pretty long. Um, and I don't know, it was like a marathon of a demo and live stream. Okay, so going into this piece right here, see how much lighter that is. Let me see, zoom in a little bit here. We'll see how that looks. Okay, now you can get more opacity just by layering more and more, but you know, I don't want to put down 15 layers of some acrylic paint, okay? So I don't know if I mentioned, I spray sealed this, okay? So hopefully that any type of darkening of the media is not going to be from the media applied on the top of something, putting the bottom layers back into solution and merging with the top layers, which I think is occurring to some degree. I'm not quite sure, because I would have thought that a lot of those layers were already dry. So having this spray sealed off, you're not going to have that, that physical connection between the bottom layers. Hello, Harold. Good to see you. I talk about Maine a lot, Harold. Hiking around in that Acadia all to myself on that one trip out there. Harold and his wife, by the way, everyone had a store in Maine, and that's why I went out there a couple different times. One of my favorite trips was always to their store, and my last trip out there was to do workshops at their store, but then there was a convention the following weekend, so I had a week, which is the longest time I ever took off from Stampscapes, I think. Maybe to this day, I don't know, besides, like Christmas vacation or something like that. But I hiked around in Acadia National Park. I was thinking about doing other stuff like Katahdin, but I don't know. I went just to Acadia, and back in those days, 20 years ago, or whenever it was, there weren't that many people out there in the off season, and that was in full color, I guess it was whatever they call it. And I understand why. It's because that color is like in people's backyards, so there's no reason to go over to the national park. But I had that park to myself, basically. I never saw. I saw one other couple on a hike in that park, and I did most of the hikes, over that course of the week. It's not a big national. It's like the smallest national park, I think, in the system. And most of the hikes are, they're kind of short. But I never saw another person out there. There were cars once in a while, like one or two cars in the parking lots. But, when you're on the trail, someone else is, if the car's already there, they're ahead of you, so you never see them. And it was hiking bliss. And it looked kind of like that, It was the colors were amazing. All right, this is looking better already. I guess, I need to get. Okay, here's what I'm doing right here. I didn't mention. I was mentioning this last night, but I'm kind of going with an interior of the tree type of highlighting here. So I want a little bit more of the light to be coming from this central area, so that it looks kind of more centrally illuminated. It just, it's not going to be that obvious, but just in general, it kind of keeps the viewer's eye kind of more centralized like that. So, yeah. So if you're ever in Maine, go over to Penn Ventures. Fantastic. Let's see here. I want these little dots on here to really remain nice, and I wouldn't say they're opaque, but they're, much closer to opaque than when they dry. Has anyone ever tried paint pens? They're called chalk pens. I've seen them, and I've wondered about those in terms of the opacity of them. Just in theory, I don't know. I guess if it has kind of a chalkier look to it, does that mean that there's a little bit more I don't know, kind of pigment in them, I'm wondering, or a chalky type of finish to them where they would be maybe more opaque. I've wondered about that. I've seen those listed and I just haven't pulled the trigger on them. I also have, okay, one of the things that I was hoping for was I picked up some oil-based markers. And sometimes the oil-based ones in the past, I've used oil-based white pens and paint markers and oil-based gold and silver pens. You know, those were a lot of the pens back in the day. They were oil-based. And those ones were really quite opaque. The white paint pens that I used to use, it was from Marvy. That one was really opaque. And then there was a Sakura, which was a water-based one. And those things worked fantastic, but the oil-based one was very, very opaque with a super high pigment to binder ratio, I'm guessing. But I bought a pack of those pens, and they look just like the acrylic ones when in application, so they weren't that much more opaque. I mean, it could be just that brand that I got. You know, different brands are probably a little bit different, unless they're all coming out of the same factory somewhere, which could be so, but I don't know. I'm just kind of curious about those chalk ones, if anyone has ever used those before. I think the chalk ones, I believe, are the 3mm pens. I don't think they're the smaller ones. Maybe they clog or something like that. Okay, so the clog, okay, Kay's used it. They're pretty thick then. I don't know, have you ever tried using those chalk ones like on a black piece of paper or something like that? I'm just kind of curious to know if they, you know, if darker surfaces underneath are showing through, if it's, you know, reasonably opaque. That's what we always want to know with things like white pigment inks too. Or I don't know, just different types of inks. I guess there's some inks out there, they call it white dye-based inks. I don't know, that doesn't make sense to me because dyes are transparent by nature. So you can't have like white, you know. All right, so getting there right here, I'm thinking this Lanren Wang pen is working, or maybe it's the spray sealant, I don't know. Not putting the bottom layers back into solution, but this is more of the kind of the spirit that I was hoping for. Just with my first layers, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind going out and spray sealing. I mean, it takes like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, to walk over there and spray seal. It takes like 2 minutes, but like I said, ideally we don't have to do that, like those extra steps like that. All right, so that's kind of coming alive, I think. Yeah, man, it's really vibrant. Okay, well, let's see if it remains like that, though. I also brought into the mix, I have those smaller 0.7mm pens by that same company. I mean, it doesn't look like it would be super kind of high pigment when you see through it like that. It looks a little watery, but this one's the metallic gold. I think I don't think they called it that. They called it something like, I think it was pearl or something like that. So I thought I would bring this into the mix. Okay, they're like the other chalk pens. You don't see the black through the ink. I don't know, I might have to try it. Kay, do you know the brand of the ones that you've used? And are they indeed the kind of the thicker ones like that? You know, it's like a couple millimeters or something like that as far as the tip goes. Because I know there's a lot of, well, I don't know if there's a lot of, there's different brands out there, so if someone's tried some, at least that's, you know, that's saying something. Do you like them, though? I guess I should ask. Okay, I haven't even used this one. But I thought I would give some kind of some metallic shimmer into this. I don't know if I'm going to keep that on the surface like this, or if I'll kind of put a little bit of metallic in there for a little bit of a reflective quality, and then I might bury it a little bit underneath some just straight, standard acrylic paint. All right, let's see here. All right, that looks pretty good. I don't know if you can tell. Well, you can tell a little bit. See how kind of shimmery that is. Let's see. I don't know if you can tell that's reflective, but any type of reflective type of surfaces, that can be our friend in scenic stamping, because it's going to be somewhat akin to a lot of different surfaces in nature. Like if you have a little bit of moisture on the leaves, it's going to be reflective of light, where normally we're working with contrast to represent light. But if you put these reflectives into your pieces, that's why I like working on things like holographics and foils and things like that. It's really fun because you actually have light coming from your piece because it's so reflective. I mean, this is reflective to white, but if you get a metallic element in there, I don't know what percentage of light it reflects, but I gotta think. White probably reflects, I don't know. There was some statistic out there. I forgot what it was, but if you put a metallic in there, it was just, I don't know, it went up quite a bit. It's like the difference between like looking at snow or something like that and just earth. I don't know what that statistic is with snow. It reflects, I don't know, what a huge percentage of that light. And just earth is dirt, rock, that type of thing. It was far less. All right, so I can't see things, really clear just right in front of me, but when I hold this up, I don't know if you can see that. Here, that's a little bit out of focus, but I put a lot of that little reflective orange right in here and here. It's kind of buried in there. You have to, if you catch the light, I mean, when I'm holding this up, it really stands out at a certain angle, okay? So hopefully that'll yield some whatever visual dividends, we'll call it. Someone write that down. That's good. All right. I don't know if I've used a kind of a reflective foil type of, metallic in my trees yet, until now. I figured since this scene is so big and I've already spent, quite some time on it, we might as well just go for it here. I can't really see it from just a straight contrast perspective, because it's, I don't know, laying down this color right here. It's just kind of blending into the background, so it's one of those things where you only kind of see it if you're, you have the piece at an angle. So like, what I'm always saying is, it's one of those things that may not be super apparent at first glance, but if you give a card to someone, you really want to reward the viewer for closer inspection. So if they kind of look at it and they look kind of deeper into things, if you keep revealing little special types of I don't know, maybe surprises for them, they're more inclined to take a deeper dive into the piece and to really enjoy it on multiple levels rather than just say first impact, which you want, that has to be kind of the first thing. But then if they go into it and they see, okay, there you see that little bit of a reflective kind of areas in there. But yeah, they see that you've laid down 20,000 dots for them. 20,000, you know, we're not going to give that away anymore. We'll take a photo of it and we'll print it out on the our printer. But then they wouldn't get that kind of metallic area. But I don't know if you can see it right in there. But that looks, I don't know. I don't know. I think that looks pretty good with that color. Okay, now one of the things that I've really lost in these trees is that I did have some green in these leaves before, just in the impression itself. I colored my, oh, where'd it go? I colored my aspens, and there's a little tinge of like an olive green in the impressions. I don't know if you can see it in there. Okay, it kind of blended in with the, you know, the background a little bit, but I thought I would use or try some of that as well. If you have, I don't know if I can get this going here. Let's see, maybe the feed is, maybe we're not buying this brand. Okay, here we go. It needed a feed. I haven't used it probably since my initial time using it. But again, it's another one of those green ones here. Okay, I can't think of the name offhand. I got them for the colors. Oh, fluorescent ones. Okay. Hello, Froggy Fresh! You're not way late today. We did most of this early in the morning, in the wee hours. But today, we're just kind of doing, this video is called Fun with Dots. Maybe not fun with dots, because that would be like, if you're doing just like a few of them, it's the, we'll have to call it, we'll call it the Zen, we'll keep it real positive and call it the Zen of the dot. Dot Zen, you know, to make it short. But what I was mentioning on this piece here, Froggy Fresh, is that the trees, just with my paint pens last night, the acrylic paint is just, when it dries, it gets a lot more transparent. And my trees just weren't kind of light enough. And as a matter of fact, I think it's dulled out again. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to put another layer with some of that yellow. So 5 people just dropped off right now. He said, we're not going back to the yellow. But I need to get it a little bit, maybe going with white or something like that will do it. But I need to create a little bit more contrast between the rocks here. So, okay, so anyways, adding this green, I'd like this green in here. I don't know, it's just a little tinge of it, you know, just so it's not so, I don't know, monotone. When you have these little kind of elements like this, and I don't know, maybe I'm getting away with the, just this really small kind of addition of green because it's a metallic. So maybe, I think these little dots are kind of standing out a little bit more than if I were to put this color of green just with straight, you know, just plain acrylic. I think the metallics are looking pretty good, or whatever this is called, pearl. I don't know. Maybe I should try yellow metallic. Maybe that's this. I don't know. Maybe that's the way to go. I wouldn't want this whole thing to be like shiny, you know, foil or something like that, looking pen colors. But I think that green really stood out. I think that, I don't know, whatever they have in this. What is it? Mica or something like that, to make things look shimmery in media. But it doesn't matter if you fell asleep, Karen. What matters is if you absorbed all of that information in your subconscious. If you kept the video rolling, because then you'll know the answers. You know, for the end of a scene quiz at least. Okay, so here's my pens here. Here's gold. There's not a yellow though. This one right here, that's like fluorescent though. I don't think I want to go with like a greenish. That's not too bad. I don't know if I've used it yet. Aren't these pen sets? These pen sets are fun though. I like the whole look of them. Yeah, let me try this one here. This one's a yellow, gold-ish color. It's not gold, which is, I think, this one right here. Look at this one, it's like copper right here. I don't know. Oh, I don't know, this one's probably gold right here. I can't even tell. They don't have the names written on the thing. Man, what I would have given for a pen set like this when I was a kid. The adult coloring book market has really kind of, thank goodness for that, because that's what I think these pen sets were designed for. If that, I don't know, is that still going on? Adult coloring books. Those and the gel pens, alcohol pens, they're all kind of geared towards that, you know. I don't know. I didn't know adult coloring books were so big until one day I walked into like I'm talking years ago, like a Barnes and Noble or something like that, and saw all those coloring books. And that's when you started seeing a lot of these different pen packs being available. Okay, so this gold is really, really standing out. Okay, I'm just kind of clustering some of these leaves in here. How is the train project going? Oh yeah, how is that train project going? Oh, Froggy Fresh got their Saint Bernard today. Wow. One brand of chunks were the Galaxy markers. I don't know if they still make them, but there were others too that worked well. Okay, good to know. The dots are singing. Karen woke up to a black screen. Well, if you were there, if it was rolling, then you would have absorbed all the information kind of more on a subconscious level, which is maybe, you know, maybe that'll be even better for retention. Adult coloring books are still a thing. We need those to be still a thing because we need these sets, you know, to be rolling out, you know. It's like these types of markers right here, all these pen sets, in terms of like new media out there, it seems to be, I don't know if it's just me, but I think that's kind of where like there's still a lot of that kind of taking place, new whatever sets and offerings out there for, you know, us. I don't see, you know, there's not going to be this big push, I don't think, in terms of like inks, pads, and things like that. I wouldn't say any more, but for the time being, I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but I just, you know, when you get companies like ClearSnap, which is a big, you know, manufacturer of pads, supplier of pads out there, kind of industry wide. You know, I'm just not sure, you know, with the stores, you know, stores were a big part of all that. And I don't know, like the chain stores, I don't know, it seems like they're moving away from kind of paper arts, or at least certain types of paper arts with things like pads. You know, we need things like this to still be nice and active and competitive out there in terms of all the different offerings. Okay, so I like this gold pen. It seems to be, it's applying beautifully. I don't know if you can see it at all, you know, amongst that kind of craziness, but I think my trees are kind of looking a little bit more lively. One of the things I was mentioning to people last night too when I was doing this is that I need to bring some of that color down into these rocks. It's just there's too much of a separation, so I need to put kind of like these leaves. You know, it's fall, so I need to put these leaves like on the top sides of a lot of these rocks, and I think that'll start to incorporate the rocks in with that texture in you know, in some ways. And I don't mind those ones being a little bit more translucent. You know, I don't think I want something like super bright on top of these rocks in here. So if I start laying it down and it starts to dry a lot darker where that rock is showing through, I think all the better. And plus those leaves probably look like that if they've been laying on the ground. You know how they start to lose their color a little bit, or kind of their intensity. I think that would be good. I don't know, well, we'll just have to see here. Okay, so shaking this one up a little bit more. One of these things with these pens too, I mean, I haven't controlled it to this extent, but to a marker like this, let's say that there's one that's really super bright, and you don't know if you want that degree of intensity and brightness in that color. I guess what we can do is we can just don't shake it up as much. So it's a little bit more of a watery, dull type of look to it, and then use that incarnation. Don't shake it up fully, okay? I mean, I don't know if I've run across that type of scenario where it's like, you know, like a pen like this that's, you know, really bright red probably, and, you know, I just kind of wanted a duller version of it like that. I don't know if you can get that. Maybe you can get something kind of in between like this color and this color in terms of the intensity, okay? You know, just don't shake it up too much. I mean, you can kind of see these are clear barrels on here, how much of the pigment is mixed up. All right, so let's see here. This one's like a much lighter yellow here too. Let me try this here. This is the Artistro. The Artistros fool me though, because it looks so much lighter when applied. I don't know. This one looks really opaque though for some reason. Beatific sounds better though, Froggy Fresh. Okay, and this yellow right here, I don't know. This one's looking pretty good. It's like a dull yellow. It's not like, I don't know. I don't think it's like a canary yellow. It seems like it's the value of it is a little bit, or the intensity is a little bit duller. Okay, so I mean, I'm doing these dots right here, and I don't mind doing them, but I would prefer not to have to go to, you know, with so many layers in it. And again, it's just the opacity of them. I need to get something more opaque so that at least with the kind of the lighter tones, I don't have to lay down as many layers. And I say this with other types of media. Sometimes it's good that if you can extend the kind of the process out, where you're starting with something light and then you're working darker, darker, darker. And this one I'm working with light over the dark, and I'm working dark to light, okay? But I prefer not to have to lay down so much light, because if I get what I want, seemingly, when it's been applied, I prefer not to have to lay down other, layers on there too. I mean, this is a really big scene, so I mean, going through this entire card here on all these trees, and I did put a lot of trees on here, obviously, but it doesn't take too long to get through. But yeah, like if I could have got it in maybe the third layer or something like that, as opposed to like the sixth, it would have been preferable for me. It probably looks a little bit richer as a result of doing this, but I don't want to have to do it. So I don't know. I want to incorporate some other types of pens into this. So maybe, like I said, maybe the chalks. Maybe there's an oil-based chalk one or something like that. That would be probably pretty good. In terms of maybe potential opacity. I don't think there is, though. Probably something in the oil type of binder with any type of chalk thing. It would probably seize, the pen would seize, because it would be felt probably. We need opacity. We need opacity in pigment inks. Some manufacturer needs to come up with that. And paint pens. I think that would be really great. So there's a little bit of ways to go with them. I think if some pad manufacturer came out and they created a really opaque white pad, I mean, I think everyone would get it, and that's all they would use. So, I don't know. It must be really difficult to do that, though. They need to incorporate something like whatever's in, the Dr. Martens Bleed Proof White into pad form. But the thing about the Dr. Martens Bleed Proof White is it dries super fast, so in pad form, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't work. I don't know. They like stays on pigment. These ones dry, but maybe it's just one of those things where you would have to ink up the pad, which I heard you had to do with stays on pigment anyway. Maybe it'd be a situation where you just have to re-ink it every time, but we would get like super opaque, solid white impressions, and that would be awesome. All right, so I'm going with that. I wanted to try that, put that on my leaves, or my trees. Now I'm putting some of this onto these rocks here, where some of these leaves have fallen onto the rocks. That's what this is supposed to represent. It's not supposed to be like highlights or something like that. But I'll kind of still treat it a little bit like highlights. Okay, so maybe in the darker areas I won't put so much yellow. So see that right there? I'm putting it on the top surfaces like this. And when you do that, you're kind of rounding out the rock. You're saying that there's, they're dimensional, they're rounded like this. So if you put it on the top surface like that, it suggests that this is kind of a sloping area that, where a leaf wouldn't land or stay on. I think this is the first time I've used yellow on like rocks before, for whatever leaf fall. Yeah, it seems like it's coming alive a little bit. Hello, Viva Web. If I pronounced that right. Viva Web. You're watching your 9-year-old granddaughter, Sophie. Oh, that's fun. Roblox. Hello, Sophie. My son didn't get into Roblox, but he was into a lot of those other things like that. He's now 16, and he hasn't been playing Minecraft too much lately. But he has some friends that we're continuing to play and asked him to play, so he's upstairs right now playing Minecraft. I'm not sure if he's on a server or not. All right, so there's some leaves right there. You can get your Sophie, get your grandmother to get the stamps out, and you can create these different scenarios. You probably have some pens that you can use. If I was stamping with I don't know, if I was creating a project for kids like in the let me see, seventh, so like fourth, third, fourth, I don't know, grade or something like that, I would do some dynamic surfaces like stamping on, like these types of things, which is really fun. An oil-based chalk, yeah, Jacqueline, I don't think those exist out there. Maybe there's some other things, though. There's probably some oil-based metallics, though, I would have to think. I'm not sure. All right, so I think this yellow here is really kind of, it's answered a lot of the, kind of the cohesion issues with this piece right here. I mean, I wasn't done, but for me, it was bringing these leaves right here, all this foliage right here. I needed it to be incorporated in with the rocks a little bit more, separated in terms of a little bit of a intensity or color contrast. I need more yellow out here to contrast against those red rocks, but we also need it kind of integrated as well, for what textural, you might call it textural harmony or something like that. So bringing some of that leaf kind of formation into this area too. And when you do that type of thing too, you kind of create a little bit of movement in a scene. You're saying that these leaves are, it's fall, so they're falling onto things, the trees are losing their leaves, so you got to put it somewhere in the terrain like this. So everything's looking a little bit better. Rocks seem a little bit more rounded. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's creating a little bit more of a shimmer. And plus you put these little colored dots out on the rock portion, and there's more contrast between that little dot. You can really see it. I mean, you can see the dots in here too, but it's a little bit, crazy. The dots in here are crazy because there's just so many of them. Okay, so laying down some of it in here too. Kind of do this a little bit too, kind of have a little bit of your applications of this in areas a little bit more kind of varied, I would say. And I think that looks better than to space things out too evenly, okay? There's wind and, things like that kind of moving things around, and I think it looks just better that way than to kind of space out your little leaves or, kind of evenly, like a eighth of an inch apart or something like that. But I'm saying that because that's the tendency that we all seem to have. We kind of create pattern, I think, when doing things. And I notice that when people get into the white paint pen, including myself. So I'm kind of making a conscious effort to kind of cluster things. And maybe not so much with these leaves here, but it's especially true with things like when you're doing, using like a white paint pen and creating stars in the sky or something like that. Kind of keep it a little bit more varied, cluster some things, space some things out, make some things a little bit larger. And just from a visual sense, it seems to look better. Okay, so I really like this yellow right here. Okay. It's like a yellow dust has fallen over the scene. Yeah, it's snowing. It's snowing. It's snowing leaves, yellow leaves. One of those things about like this fall types of foliage, when you walk amongst that type of scenario, it's like everything's kind of moving around a little bit. So it's shimmering, and that's where I like the use of some of those metallics. I don't know if we could see. I went over some of those metallics a little bit. I know it's a little bit out of focus, but I don't know if you can tell in here at an angle. There's some of those dots that are slightly different, and that's those metallics that there. You can really see the metallics right in here. See that right there? That's that. Good. What color did I use? Green and gold in there. So, I mean, when you look at it like this, you wouldn't notice it. But if someone was kind of going like this a little bit, if you gave this card to someone, they would, hopefully they would notice it. If you do a card like this, you might have to, if you give it away to some, you might have to give it to another stamper so that they would notice that type of thing. I'm just joking. I have talked to a couple like stampers over the, in the past that have said, "Hey, I'm not making cards for anyone anymore because they've given cards away and the recipients just kind of tossed them out or something like that." And I said, "Hey, maybe they thought they were store bought. They maybe did such a awesome job. They thought they thought it was they didn't know you made it." All right, so that is that. Yeah, that gold really stands out at some of those angles. I wish you could see that right there, but I think you could see that a little bit like that. If I go like that, there's some little dots that don't show up at all if it's not kind of captured in the light, but you see that right there. I mean, those little dots on these rocks, I mean, hopefully it's not too kind of extreme, but like I said, at kind of closer up like that, you can see those, that dusting of leaves on the rocks like that. And I think I don't know, I think those look better, especially down here. It broke up some of that kind of the monotony of that color that was in those rocks too. Which I don't know. They definitely needed it. It was a little bit. Oh, yeah. It was a little bit monotone, I guess, or mono value. Yes, we had a rainbow that was all red. How is that? It was just showing the band of red, huh? That's interesting. Huh. Harold, paint pens, acrylic paint pens. So I'm using a couple different brands. One's the Artistro 0.7 millimeter acrylic paint pen, okay? And then I was using a set of pens that come in all kinds of different colors. It's there's a lot of metallics in it. So you see these types of sets out there on Amazon, basically. But there's a lot of different types of colors in here. I think there's one that's called glitter or something like that. Pastel and Pearl, I think it is. And this is Lan Ren Wang. I don't promote these ones too much because a couple of these pens, when I just opened the cap, basically, just took the cap off, the tip fell out, I mean, you just kind of put it back in and, it's working fine. But I don't know, that happened a couple times on me. I mean, it still feeds fine and it doesn't, it's not falling out as I'm using it or anything like that. But I didn't think that tip loss, should be kind of one of the defining features of the pen. They have really excellent inks, though, I would have to say. But I don't know, you just have to be careful, when you take off the cap, I guess. You know what I mean? It's not even like throwing the pen around or something like that. It's taking off the cap. I don't think I'm like a rough, what do they call it? Cap taker offer. And it wasn't like they were, old too. They were, they're brand new. But like I said, I was mentioning earlier, the pigment to the binder ratio is supposed to be higher in those ones. That I don't know, that's what they tout. All right, so adding some of this down, I'm adding in some of these leaves into my water here. I'll go for, this water is supposed to be a little bit closer to us, right? So I'm going to do a little bit of a larger leaf in here, and hopefully that, I don't know, kind of represents, a surface depth a little bit more when you have things kind of laying on the surface of water. I don't do it all the time, but I usually like to leave little highlights, but I don't, have like leaves floating in the water too often. But I think this looks pretty good like this. And again, kind of cluster it a little bit, because there's like water currents that happen here, kind of in the shallows right here. I'll kind of put, a nice little cluster of leaves back in there. All right, coming to life a little bit more, but again, I want to punch that yellow a little bit more in my trees. I want that real kind of yellowy look. Okay, I'm not going to, we're going to go a little bit crazy with this 0.7 millimeter yellow pen. I want these trees to really stand out. The title of this piece, I think, is going to be called 1 Million Strong, because I think I'm going to end up applying like 1 million dots to this to these trees in the end. Why didn't I do this scene in a standard quarter page format? I'm joking. All right. I'm working upside down here so I don't get my hand in, if I'm putting something over here like this, I would have to put my hand right there, right across all those ones right there. So always kind of flip your card around in the direction that's going to be most conducive for the application of whatever media you're applying. You know, keep things nice and comfortable. This is a repetitive motion right here. I don't have any stress in my hand at all. All right. Let's see, let me put some I like those larger leaves in the water. I'm going to put some of those larger leaves right here in my foreground too. Okay, that looks much better. I didn't even think to do some of those larger ones in the trees here too. Huh. Well, you learn something new every day, maybe. Harold, is the color completely gone out your way, or do you still have some color at this point in time? I don't know, maybe it's been gone for a month, I don't know, out your way. Or 2 months. Linda, if you're there watching, hello to you. Do you guys still have that dog? Tootsie, was it? Tootsie was young when I was there. I think you just got her, was it? Or him? Yvonne, you saw me about 12 hours ago. Long time no see. That yellow's making that look a lot better. Now I just need that yellow to stay yellow there. I'm going, this is a, we're going this yellow pen crazy right here. That looks a heck of a lot better. I didn't think about going with kind of these larger little applications right here. But that looks much, much better, I think. This is kind of what I envisioned a little bit more so, just in terms of not the overall scene, but just the shimmer on these trees here. I don't know. Can you guys see that difference right there? Just that extra coating right there. Now, like I said, we need it to. I just hope it doesn't kind of become real transparent with and darker. Okay. But I think doing these little scribbly types of things, I'm putting a thicker application of paint down. Not only is it the dot getting bigger, but I'm just, there's a thicker, blob of, ink in that area right there. So it just looks much, much better. All right. Yeah, that looks a little bit more along the lines of what we're going after. Thank heavens I didn't want to have to apply, 2 million dots. I'll go, I'll go 1 million, but, 2 million, that's not reasonable. Harold, Linda, I think when I was at your store, I think I did used to bring the paint pens, the white paint pens for people's scenes. We didn't have paint pens like this though, like colored paint pens back in those days. You know, um, back in the 1800s when I was out there. All right, that looks much, much better. Let's see. It's spring here. We've had heavy rains. Now all the pollens. I was just thinking about that. I was thinking this looks like it's like pollen everywhere, but it's not. It's leaves. So, and if you have hay fever or anything like that, you're going to be fine in this scenario. Let's see. Calgary, basically our leaves just turn yellow and then fall off. We don't get the beautiful colors. Oh, got it. Got it. In California, believe it or not, we have there's a lot of fall color, but it's all up in the upper elevations, like in the Sierras. But we don't get like reds and things like that. It's the yellows because it's the aspen trees up in the like the Sierra Nevadas and stuff like that. Not the super high elevations, but I don't know what it would be. Probably 6,000 feet or something like that. Maybe it's not that high. I don't know, 5,000 maybe. I got a new 2-year-old aerial. I lost my boy 2 months ago. Cash. That's a good one. I like that name. Another dog after Tootsie. So Harold got 2 more. When I was out there, they just got Tootsie. But I renamed the dog while I was there. The dog looked more like a Bingo to me. So I called it Bingo, for that couple days. It probably confused the dog. Maybe Bingo could have been its middle name. Or it's like nickname, where people get, their name or whatever, but they're known by something else. Why can't dogs have that too? That was a long time ago. I didn't think Tootsie would still be around. All right, so let's see here. I'm trying to decide on what else to do on this piece. I was thinking about a bird in the sky or something like that. We've added all this yellow in here on these rocks. Maybe I should incorporate a couple little oranges in there as well. I'm not going to go crazy in that because I don't want to double that, but just getting a little bit of extra tone in there. Yeah. So, Harold, did you used to stamp before you were doing those Stampscapes pieces? I don't know, maybe you did, but Harold became quite a good, quite a scenic stamper himself there. You might, Harold. Harold might be in the Stampscapes customer gallery on the website. I'm not sure. You probably are. Where I am, the trees don't really autumn like a few suburbs over. I'm still raking leaves. Oh, so you don't get the color, but you get the raking opportunities, right? No, my son does not draw. He doesn't do any art. Um, but he did a lot of music though. Over his lifetime, piano mostly was his main thing, but he did percussion. He knows all the percussion instruments, vibraphone, marimbas, all, cymbals, all that. Kit, drum kit. A little bit of guitar. I mean, he could draw if he wanted to. I always told him, hey, if you ever want to take like, an elective in art classes or something like that, you'll have you know, you got a kind of like a built-in, I don't know, coach if he wanted it. Okay, there's a little bit of the metallic orange. I'd place that kind of interspersed a little bit in those areas just to kind of break up that sheer amount of yellow leaf fall. Okay. You can't really see it because it's the same kind of value as the orange right in there on the rocks or the red on the rocks. But again, it's one of those things with the when you tilt it and it captures that light, it becomes a lot more reflective in there. So, let's see. I have those Wink of Stella pens. I haven't used it in a while. It's probably completely dried out, but I was thinking some. Let me see if there's just like a silver or clear. Okay, here's a silver. Metallic. Is there a clear, or maybe this one's the silver? I can't tell which one's which. This one might be the glitter silver. Now, if I had like a clear, but it was just glitter, that would be better here. I think this is just white right here. I haven't tried the Lan Ren Wang. These are supposed to be pretty opaque. Maybe I should, keep that out there. I'm not, needless to say, I'm not working with, too many of these metallics too often, but I don't know, maybe I should. Oh, that's funny, Karen. That reminds me of this, oh, I think it was The Far Side or something like that. It was like, this is what, I know people hear, and it's like something like, Susie, you do the blah, blah, Susie, or something like that. And it's like what the dog hears, and it's like blah, 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 Susie, blah, 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 Let me see something here. I just got a message. What is this? Speaking of Minecraft, I just got a text that looking for a password to Steam. What's Steam? Okay, I don't know what they're talking about. Back to the scene here. Steam is Minecraft? I don't know. Where'd the 9-year-old go? Is the 9-year-old still watching? They would know what Steam is. Okay, so this is silver. Okay, so I'm going to incorporate some of this in. This is not in. Not that any of this is engaging live viewing, but I don't think you can see this silver in here at all. I'm adding this silver in. If I add it over the white, silver is going to look dark. Okay, like that. But what I'm going to do, is I add some of these little touches into areas that the silver's invisible, basically. Because, again, it's the same value of terms of light and dark. But hopefully, someone kind of flips it around a little bit and holds it up. They'll be able to see these little shimmering little bits of reflective light because the metallics are going to reflect more than the um, white paper. Okay, so let's put some of this up into this kind of splashing area as well. And I added the white pigment ink in there yesterday. The white pigment ink becomes much more transparent when you spray seal it, okay? It's just like spray sealing white pastels or something like that. If you build up your pastels and you have like white on the top, if you spray seal it, sometimes that disappears. It's the same thing with the white pigment ink. So I can hit that a little bit more, maybe, if need be. Let's see here. I'm laughing at that Jacqueline's comment on her dog. Yeah, wasn't Tootsie a terrier, Harold? Get a third dog, you guys, and name it Bingo. I like that name for a terrier. All right, let me add a little bit more of this down here. Just to kind of reinvigorate a little of this area that lost a little of that opacity in there, okay? I don't know if you can see that right there, okay? And kind of coming out here a little bit more. I didn't like the monotony of the rock in here, so I was kind of adding a little bit more of this kind of cloudy, kind of misty, whatever atmosphere around on these rocks like that, just to give it a little bit more variation, okay? We'll come a little bit from the top of this one as well, because I have that illuminated area right there, okay? So for me, doing this yesterday, I was like adding this anywhere where there was an excuse for kind of this foggy light in here. For anyone doing landscape stamping, I think the foggy illuminated light is your greatest tool in terms of just kind of blending everything together and solving, a lot of different types of issues that come up with ink applications, media applications, and everything like that. If you get anything that doesn't look resolved, as is this, for me, it fixes, I don't know, like 95% of those types of issues. So for me, I don't even care about impression qualities. Sometimes I miss an impression and something doesn't stamp out, somewhere within the design. I might get my color applications might look a little bit clunky. Things like this might look a little bit too kind of crazy, but you just go in here and you just kind of mellow it out with a little bit of this kind of mistier kind of fog, because you can have fog going, you know what I mean? It could be anywhere within a scene. I usually put it in the lighter areas, but you can put it in the background wherever you want it to go, as long as it's not like super dark, where something like this would really stand out. But you can put it in so many different areas, and it just kind of mellows everything out a little bit by kind of adding that softer texture. And also it represents light too. So it really helps with that. Things get things get kind of crazy in scenes for me a lot of times, because I take things farther than probably where, something would be ideal. But I'm always telling people just to go a little bit farther, because then, you know, if you're always kind of holding back, you don't know kind of the ideal kind of incarnation of something, or if you've taken it to the maximum, I don't know, whatever potential. So it goes over a lot of times, but I can bring it back with, you know, doing things like this, or, you know, the paint pens. If things get a little bit too kind of muddled, you know, in terms of too much ink, too much color, it looks muddy, right? So you add kind of crisp elements back in with this, or where things get a little bit too, I don't know, whatever, dark, or, you know, something like that too, you can add this softer type of light element into it. So it's kind of going back, you know, you kind of go darker and darker and darker with inks and pens and everything like that. But then going back and adding your lighter elements back into it, you know, light on dark, basically, because we're always used to working with dark on light, you know, like white pieces of paper. So, yeah. Fried green tomato character names. Awesome. Hello, Nicole in Perth. Good to see you. Baxter. That sounds like a good, you know, Jack Russell name. Let's see. Let's see here. Fried green tomatoes. I don't think I watched that movie. Maybe I watched it once. A hound named Smokey Lonesome. That's a good one. You got to get that dog just so you can name him that. All right. I think that is just about it there. It's a little bit different, or I don't know. To me, it's quite a bit different from starting out today. I don't know. I'd hate to call it, I wouldn't call it a preliminary. I mean, most of it was done, but I don't know. Adding all these little extra touches has really kind of resolved a lot of the, kind of those touches, you know, that needed to kind of bring this piece really to life. For me, it was kind of raw before. Even with all that, all of those ink applications already applied and most of the colors already done, it needed that level of yellow intensity in there. And again, all over all these different rocks in here as well, that really helped it out. And I don't know, a lot of those little subtle things too, like I was mentioning with the there's little highlights in there. In that silvery area right there. I know this is blurry right here, but my camera can't focus in too close these days, in live streams at least. But okay, so here it is right there. So I have those little elements like that. See that right in that water? It's not high contrast or anything like that, but you get those little reflectives like that. Really showing, see that right there. You can't really see it like that, but then you tilt it like this, and those little things reveal themselves. Which I really like in pieces. I like kind of those little surprises. Like in here, I don't know if you can tell, but there's that gold reflective quality in those leaves, and I think that really rewards someone for taking a card and just kind of moving it around and looking a little bit closer under different lighting, maybe too. I want to add this bird in here, but I want to have some of it, one of those birds, like right in front of that rock like that. Just for a little bit of extra depth. I'm going to do this in a StazOn because I have spray sealed this, so there's an acrylic coating already on this. So I just think the StazOn is going to have a little bit of a better chance of a good impression like that. So kind of putting it in front of that rock right there. I think the rock was light enough to where that bird kind of stands out a little bit like that. And you can let that dry a little bit, and you can put a little bit of pigment ink over those far ones so that it looks a little bit close, you know, and a little bit farther away just in that impression itself. So let me see. Stays on dries pretty fast. Let me see if I can do that right now. I'm just checking just in case. The last thing I want is to go and put a little pigment ink over the top of that. And it's like smudging, you know, like the smallest little component. Subtle, but it's there. Let me see if you guys can see that. So, kind of darker birds in the foreground. And it's not foreground, but the closer birds a little bit darker, farther ones lighter. So you can see that right in that little image right there. So closer, farther back, you know, darker and lighter. Like so. All right, so that's my little kind of a, I don't know, whatever, not tribute, but my little quick scene in the spirit of, you know, some of those formations out there in Arizona. My interpretation of it, at least, with some aspen trees kind of amongst the red rocks like that. So that's one area that I've never been to. I've always wanted to check out was that Sedona area of Arizona. So I don't know. One of these days I'll get out there. I didn't use the Landrin wing here, but I don't even know if I've used this white one yet. But oh, it's a little jammed here. Okay, I'm not gonna get. I'll get that feeding another time. Let me use a little of this again. Thanks so much for joining in. Go give those dogs a nice hug for me. Stamp out some autumn types of colors. It's really fun. Maybe we're a little bit late. I usually like to hit those types of seasonal things a little bit in advance. Maybe I should be doing some more snowy scenes, but I just got back from Arizona, and I've wanted to do this one. I was thinking, oh, I don't know, I was just laying there. And I thought, I think I haven't done red rock formations with some, you know, some fall foliage, some types of, you know, the fall foliage are things that I've been kind of playing around with lately. But again, I don't think I did it before in a kind of a desert type of a, you know, scenario. So I wanted to get to this one, and I don't know. They say go big or go home, right? So I did it in this 8.5 by 11 piece. I don't think I'll ever do it in 11 by 17. Unless there's like those chalk pens or something like that come out, you know, where I can do like one layer of it and it's going to be fine. So there you have it right there. I'm signing this one right here, you know, after all it did take 1 million dots, so. $2022. Gosh, we're almost upon 2023. How is that? I don't understand it. I do understand it, but I know it seems weird. How was Y2K, you know, almost 23 years ago? When the end of civilization was upon us. All right, folks. That is that right there. If anyone wants to see like a 30 by 40 inch version of it, Linda Bystrom's going to volunteer to do that for us. Get all of your, you know, get your all of your drinks and everything like that set next to your viewing area. It's going to be probably not too quick of a scene. Artistic license, that's about right. Flying into Vegas and seeing all of that red. Oh, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever flown into Vegas. I've always flown into Vegas on the red eye. It was always my connection on a lot of red eye flights. So I've never seen that like flying over Red Rocks out there, or like was that something of fire, Valley of Fire. You know, so it depends on what direction you're coming in. But I just watched a video on Red Rocks and rock climbing out there like 2 days ago. I need to get out there again. That Red Rock area is really fantastic. State park, I think. I don't think it's a national. I think it's a state park. But hello, Jeannie. You're on late, but you love it. Glad you like it, Jeannie. This is one of those quick card pieces. Takes about 30 minutes to do this piece. Thanks so much, everyone. The best New Year's Eve party ever. Oh, yeah. I remember my sister asking well, if I was going to do anything for that New Year's Eve. And that was back in the days. And around 2000, I was traveling a ton. And by the time it got around to, I usually stopped traveling in before Thanksgiving, but I remember, I don't know, I just had the worst flu, and my sister gave me a call to say Happy New Year's or something like that, and I was like really, really sick. I'd get sick sometimes when like I was allowed to, so I never got sick during times when I had workshops on the schedule and travel and stuff like that, but there were so many times when I finished my last class or last travel of the year, and on the flight home, boom, nose starts running and stuff like that. It was crazy. It was just like, okay, now you can, if you, whatever, you need to get sick, you can. But I remember that. I remember that because my sister always reminds me of it. Seeing when I was done on that New Year's. But yeah. All right, so I'm real happy with this one. I'm glad. I think we're getting that retention up here finally with that yellow. And I think it was that little scribble that I did, giving a little bit more ink or paint, I should say, to those trees like that. So it seems like it's staying reasonably light. Hopefully it stays that way. I think we've been on long enough, though, where if it was going to get really dark or see-through and transparent, moving towards transparency, I think that would have happened right now. So I think we've finally got it here in those trees right there. So I don't know. I'll have to remember that, using this one right here and just doing a little bit of a larger scribble and applying more paint with each little dot. I don't know. I'll try that again, but I'll do it on a standard card size piece, quarter page. Yeah, and it's going to be in a mirror card situation, so that anything you do up here is going to be reflected down here in that silver foil. So you do half of the work for twice the payoff in that reflected area there. So yeah, Rachel wants to live in Kevin's studio. It's cluttered, Rachel. We'll find a little spot for you though. Yeah, very cluttered. I don't have a lot of, I wish I had more space, but if I had more space, it would just get filled up, I was thinking. But I could use twice as much of the table space, it occurred to me. Because I have like a bunch of like new inks like this, with the Moonlight Duos that were sent to me. And I don't know, I just need more space because I was thinking I have some more of those re-inkers somewhere, but I'm not even sure where they are. Because I had to, create some space on my table right here. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Had fun with this one. I had fun resolving it here. And it was really fun seeing it come together. For me, it was that little yellow paint pen. It was this one right here, the Artistro right here, putting that all over the rocks and everything like that. So, yeah, that was the key right there. So every now and then you're working on something and something's just not kind of, resolved, and you're trying to figure it out. And somewhere along the line, it could be just going with one extra color or something like that, or media or something like that. And that's the thing that kind of starts to kind of tie it all together. So that's what it was, I think, in this case. The yellow pen right there, this one in particular right here, it added all that little those little highlights in there that I, kind of I needed to get to in this second part. So yeah, yeah, 11 by 17 coming. Tape 4 11 by 17s together, Linda, so you get this big, 22 by 34 for this piece like that. And then make it a mirror card too. Or it'll be a triptych, do, 3 of them on 3 different 11 by 17s. Make them vertical like that. So 3 11 by 17s, and, have this kind of scenario out here like that. You can put some, some mountain goats on this side or something like that, and a coyote over here or something of that sort, that would be really cool. I haven't done a triptych in a while, but something like that would be kind of interesting in this type of scenario right here. Yeah. All right, folks, have a great rest of day, evening, morning, whatever time it is for you. Thanks so much for joining in. And yeah, I can't wait to do the quick video version of this. So we'll break down 20 hours of work on this and 1 million dots into a 10-minute voiceover video. All right, folks. Thanks again.